Apparently this match right here is one of the most insane games that we have seen so far in the new multiplayer patch of StarCraft 2. It's actually one of my favorite things about casting these games on YouTube. As you guys may be aware, I try to always find the games that are absolutely awesome. Usually I end up casting a lot of replays and only a handful of them actually make it to the YouTube channel. But what I've heard is that apparently this game from WCS Leipzig, which was last week, is absolutely incredible. It's one of the group stage games. I have not seen it, of course, live myself, because, I mean, these kind of tournaments usually broadcast for, like, 3 hours or so, or like 3 days or so, like 12 hours at a time, so it's really difficult to watch every single game. But let's have a quick little look at what this game right here on Acid Plant is all about. There's a couple of workers already moving across the map, although I think this is probably a series with a lot of cheese. Although I'm only casting a single match here, I think both of these guys have been cheesed quite a bit, judging by the insane amount of scouting that's already going on. Regardless though, let's go ahead and start off by introducing the players. Spawning here in the bottom right hand corner of Acid Plant LE and playing with the red Protoss probes, we have none other than DNS. And his opponent in the opposite corner of the map, scouting with 2 SCVs already. He's the Terran player, he's playing in blue, and he goes by the nickname of MaSa. So, from what I've heard, this is one of the sickest games of the new patch so far. I have no clue what to expect. There's no denying that Protoss vs Terran has been recently going through like a series of changes. Of course, the Stalker is now a little bit weaker than it was during patch 4.0, but it's still a little bit better than it was pre-patch 4.0. So there's a couple of changes that have been made to the matchup. Oracles now no longer are nearly as strong as they once were. And players are really trying to find their way as to what is the new quote-unquote standard for this matchup in particular. Apparently MaSa though decides to be a little bit annoying here. He's gone for that single engineering bay in the natural expansion location of the Protoss player. Of course, Protosses can't just lift up their nexus, so that means that initially DNS is indeed forced to build at least a single zealot to make sure that he's going to be able to eventually plant down that nexus, and there it goes. At the same time though, on the other side of the map, of course, MaSa was delayed a little while as well because of the fact that he built that engineering base, so all things considered, it's really not that big of an advantage to force your opponent to get a zealot out initially anyway. As a matter of fact, that zealot is now going to be moving across the map, but both players, even though they have been opening up pretty defensively here so far, are now going to go ahead and build themselves another command center and a nexus accordingly. MaSa going for a very quick concussive shell upgrade, and now he's following it up with additional barracks as well. Very interesting to see what this is gonna be like. Of course, concussive shell makes it so that units are slowed down when they get attacked. I think he may very well be predicting this zealot to move across the map right now. Look at that. Marauder just about to come out. There we go. It's gonna be slowed right now. There's no way that this zealot will be able to retreat. There we go. It's gonna desperately try and fight on the other side of the map, but eventually, this Protoss warrior for ire, well, at the very least, it dealt a little bit of damage to that Marine, but it will end up dying. In the meantime, though, in Camp Protoss, we see that Twilight Council now being constructed as well. A single shield battery here near the front. I quite like this nice little tucked away corner. Obviously, Acid Plant is one of the new maps, and it recently also got added to the ladder map pool and all that. There's actually a Dark Shrine now being added on here for DNS, but it takes a while for people to figure out if they want to like wall over here, or maybe you want to wall over there, or maybe you want to use this Vespian geyser here as part of your wall. It takes a little bit of time. DNS now, once again, heavily scouting, trying to see if there's anything weird going on here for his Terran opponents. Now, other than the single Marauder and then also the Marine moving across the map, I don't think they're going to be all too scary, as these Stalkers are going to be able to make short work of them with the help of that shield battery. A second Marauder now, though, joining in as well. First Marauder will end up dying. Marine is going to try and get... Oh my god, the body block on that Marine was so cool. Eventually, though, I think that all of these Terran units will end up dying with some great micro from DNS. He did not lose anything critical here whatsoever. Blink now gets chrono boosted out as well as additional gateways being added on. Dark Shrine just about to finish up, but there's no way for the Protoss player right now to send the Dark Templar across the map. I wonder what he wants to do with that. He's actually got a single proxy pylon now coming up with that scouting probe. I thought that this one was just scouting, but apparently it decided to put up a pylon on the other side of the map as well. In the meantime though, MaSa has just simply been building up his bio-focused army. He's got that engineering bay now researching +1. Stimpack is just about to finish up. Of course, concussive shells were already finished earlier, and now we also have the combat shield research coming up here for our Terran player. And I have to say, really impressive timing here, although the Dark Templar is already here. I don't know, I don't think it's been spotted yet. Oh man, oh my god, that's actually so sick. The missile turret will just barely not finish. Luckily though for MaSa, he will be able to lift up those supply depots in time. Scan will confirm that indeed it is a Dark Templar nibbling away there at the tech lab, although I guess it uses its swords to try and slice it up. And, well, apparently a single SCV will be forced to clean up the mess here. But that was a close call, right? Like, a single Dark Templar can absolutely murder a base, right? Like, if a single Dark Templar all of a sudden comes in, and actually we could even see another one coming in right now, with all of these Terran units moving across the map, could still be a bit of a nuisance, but I think indeed the defensive warpins are going to be critical. Here are the Marines, though, moving across right now. Combat shield just about to finish up. Stim is already done. There we go. There's no medevacs available, so no healing here. Beautiful Blink Stalker micro so far, but there is a lot of Terran. He's trying to run away. Make sure that he gets close to that shield battery to repair up some of those units as well. Of course, though, Stim packs are going to be wearing off. A second Stim will indeed be activated, meaning that these Terran units are going to run real low on their health counts already. Another Stim pack does come in. Warpins, though, of these Stalkers are once again going to be critical, as all of the Protoss units ended up dying there. A couple of the probes also pulled off the line, 9 of them going down at this point already. I think even a couple more will end up falling there, and that was most definitely a worthwhile trade here for the Terran player. Small army there, relatively speaking. Apparently he even all-army hotkeyed there for a little bit, stimming the units on the other side of the map as well. They're going to be able to go after this single pylon here, close to that nexus, prevent the warpin reinforcements. Single Marine will be used for scouting purposes as well, but with these Blink Stalkers now giving up the chase, I think that the third nexus will be secured. Pretty nice little push there by the Terran. Apparently they're actually going to continue fighting here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map for just a little while longer. Defensive Dark Templar or defensive Dark Templar should be able to help out as well. But there's no denying right now, right, that MaSa is a little bit behind when it comes to that economy. Sure, he's got more SCVs, but his third nexus, or his third command center rather, is much later than the third nexus of the opponent. Another medevac is now going to start making its way across the map. More and more unit-producing structures are now also being added on here for MaSa. He's going to be capable of getting himself just simply a lot more production, which is obviously very important. And the same can be said here for our Protoss player in red. Here we go, though. The single medevac now is dropping off its units inside of that main base. Mass recall being forced from the third base location into the main instead. So at the very least, Protoss is going to be able to deal with that just fine. A single Dark Templar now, though, on the other side of the map, being a little bit annoying, forcing a couple of scans. Scans, of course, usually worth a couple of hundred resources as well, but apparently the medevac here, I just barely missed that, did end up getting sniped as he tried to get back in there. A single Hero Marine now, stimming forward, trying to see if he can get any kind of scouting information whatsoever. Apparently, the rest of this small hit squad knows enough that is simply going to go back home, and I think that we are getting to a point where everyone is just sort of stabilizing. You can see, this is kind of crazy, right? A very heavy focus on Marines and Marauders so far versus still a couple of Stalkers, but now also Dark Templar being used defensively? That's not really something we have seen very much in StarCraft 2, but it's bought a lot of time. That's the nice thing about the Dark Templar here. It's managed to buy a lot of time to make it so that Protoss could get that third base up and running. And economically speaking right now, we are in a pretty even scenario. Of course, mules are pretty helpful. A whole bunch of workers have fallen on either side of the spectrum. But it looks like DNS, once again, has got an army here that he wants to move across the map with. He's at the very least going to be peeking around, see if anything interesting is going on. It will now also be confirmed that the Terran player is making a bit of a move out as well. Widow Mines now, of course, produce very rapidly. They produce a whole lot faster than previously. But here we go, look at that. Ghost being added on here by MaSa. This is something we have seen a lot of in the late game of Terran versus Zerg, but not so much in Protoss versus Terran. Very interesting. Both players, though, once again, cycling across the map. Even an Archon is now being morphed in here from that single Dark Templar that was left over. This could get really strange really fast. There is a single probe now that will confirm that the Terran is moving in the bottom left-hand corner. However, Protoss is already very far across the map. There is not enough here for a mass recall, and I think that actually neither of these players are going to try and retreat. Instead, the Protoss army is moving forward right as the Terran does the exact same thing on the other side of the map. Here we go. Protoss immediately going to take a lot of damage on these probes, as well as, of course, that Nexus. At the same time, though, SCVs are falling on the other side of the map. A couple of these Stalkers, as well as the Sentries, are now dealing the damage here to that orbital command. Ghosts are available, though. Beautiful EMP going down there, making sure that these Protoss units are just going to be a little bit easier to kill. Command Center, though, does end up falling. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, the third Nexus did end up going down as well. A single Dark Templar trying its very best, but mass recall is forced, and that allows DNS to continue fighting onwards. And I guess this was more or less like an eye for an eye there, right? I mean, both players ended up taking significant losses there. But neither is like in a critical loss scenario just yet. A double base trait. Not something we see a whole lot of in StarCraft 2. Very cool so far. Gotta say, I like where this is headed. I feel like both players just kind of want to stabilize right now. Yeah, another command center does indeed get built. Those Dark Templar that are sent across the map are rather annoying as well, but single observer now indeed confirming where exactly this Terran army is located, and apparently we will likely see a quick third Nexus once again being added on here, even though it was lost just a little bit ago. There we see indeed the Nexus being rebuilt. So this is one of those scenarios where probably neither player actually knows exactly what to do. I mean, there's no denying that pro gamers usually have a very good understanding of the matchups, but this is one of those scenarios where it's a double base trait. How many times have you encountered something like that, right? MaSa's just gonna continue sending Marines across the map. He's doing some heavy scouting with these warriors. Apparently, sending letters to their parents doesn't really matter to him. He's just simply sending a single Marine across the map to just stim forward, take some combat drugs, and then run through their deaths on the other side of the map. Although this one is getting awfully far into the main base here. Regardless, though, this single observer is still indeed confirming where that army is located. It's really the only thing that DNS needs to know right now, right? If the Terran army is home, that means he doesn't really need to worry. But the amount of ghosts that are being added on right now is actually pretty interesting. No siege tank play. Pretty heavy focus on Marauders, which isn't all too weird. A big drop is just about to move across the map. Not that heavy of a focus on, like factory and starport units here in general, though. No Liberators here whatsoever. Very cool to see. Oh my god, oh my god, oh! That could have been game ending there. Great sniffing out there by DNS. He must have gotten a tell one way or another. Maybe he saw it move past that observer earlier. That could have been absolutely game ending. Great response times right there as well, though, by MaSa. Just simply immediately turning around. A single Dark Templar also being used here for scouting purposes. Of course, it's going to be able to, well, apparently headbutt its way into a couple of these Terran units. But here we do see a big engagement just about to go down once again. There we go, beautiful EMP once again, reducing the health in particular on all of those Archons as well as the Zealots here at the front. That means that there's not going to be a lot of force fields available. However, Protoss immediately blinking as well, trying to catch this Terran player before it can get into a really powerful position. Widowmine's not really providing the value just yet. A couple of SCVs though are going down here on the other side of the map. The Dark Templar finally arrived where it meant to go about a minute or so ago. Oh man, there's no high ground vision. There we go. He finally does get high ground vision, but he's not going to be able to blink underneath all of those medevacs. And while eventually, 14 SCVs. Was that a single Dark Templar that killed 14 SCVs? While apparently 14 SCVs ended up going down there, DNS is still behind when it comes to the economy. And both players apparently have eventually decided that they want to take another base. It's like a gentleman's agreement right now, right? Once again, a single Marine will be stimped forward to scout out where this Protoss army is located. There are still a lot of ghosts available, though. More and more are being added on. There's actually a single nuke now also available here for the Terran player. Looks like we do see snipes coming in here on some of these units as well, as they are indeed now also EMP'd away. Shields will regenerate. It takes only a little bit of time, but it does buy valuable moments here for MaSa. The longer that this goes on, the bigger this Terran army will become as well. And I think for now, he's probably better off just simply backing on out of there. These Marines though, man, I almost feel bad for them, right? He does want to scan, but he doesn't really want to use it all too much. I mean, I guess you can make like 6 Marines at the cost of a single scan, or I guess a mule, right? So it's pretty interesting to see where this is gonna go. DNS though, decides to go for that Nexus. And at the same time, the command center is now just about to finish morphing into a planetary fortress. Single scouting Phoenix here, confirming roughly where it is that things are located. I wonder if he's gonna... Yeah, he's gonna send a ghost. I was gonna say, I wonder where he's gonna land that nuke. Right? The nuke is gonna be sent over towards apparently the third base location. Now, there are gonna be a few Archon available, but they do not provide the detection here that Protoss is gonna need. Once again, though... Ooh, is this an empty medevac push? Okay, it could have been. It looks like he's going to be sending most of his army across anyway. Here we go, though. The Ghost has decided to move across the map. And it is indeed going to be nuking here, right on top of that Nexus. This is actually something that the Protoss player does have to respond to, and apparently DNS sees exactly where it's located. Once again, though, we see a big amount of Ghosts here moving across the map. The nuke is just about to land right when all of these Protoss units are headed into the planetary fortress. They're going to be able to deal a lot of damage. Do we have another base trade scenario? Do we have a double base trade into a double base trade right now? That's kind of ridiculous. Here we go. Once again, right? Both players are trying to do as much damage as they possibly can. The Ghost is still going to be trying to pick up as many kills as it possibly can. Widow Mine's trying to provide whatever value they can, but both players now ended up losing their fourth bases. That means that right now the second and the third are going to be in a lot of trouble as well. These Ghosts are providing so much value, though. They're simply nibbling away at all of those Protoss shields, make these Ghosts, or rather these Archons, so much easier to kill. 2 additional command centers there going down at the same time. A single one of the Nexus here going down as well. Other than, of course, that fourth base that we saw falling earlier. Mass recall now, though, into the main base, and Protoss is once again on the move as both players pick up 51 and 30 worker kills here, respectively. Look at the amount of workers that have been killed. The Ghost, though, they're providing so much value. I think he just managed to somehow, some way snipe that observer. That all of a sudden, no, there's still a couple of them available, but yeah, that all of a sudden made it so that all of these Ghosts are just simply not visible anymore. Once again, though, a lot of these Protoss units are trying to close the distance here. Terran is having a very scary army, but he's trying to get rid of all of that. Oh my god, I think he just got rid of the last observer. He just got rid of the last observer. A single nuke is also being used to try and ward away this army. That means that all of a sudden these Ghosts are going to be able to pick all of this up with absolute ease. A nuke is coming in here in just a little bit, but that means that all of a sudden more and more probes end up going down. Did you see what he did there? He EMP'd the observer to try and get a little bit more vision there, and therefore eventually he managed to pick up the observers, and therefore all of a sudden the Ghosts were able to go back home and clean up so many more workers. 14 SCVs versus 17 probes. Now, there is a single command center, or rather dual command centers available right now for MaSa, but neither player really has the resources right now, nor the income, to get any more money, right? Like, another Nexus gets built here by DNS. There are 2 Liberators right now available here for the Terran player. Apparently, ooh, he's actually rebuilding a robotics facility. I think he must have lost the one in the main base. Once again, though, a big engagement just about to happen. These Liberators are actually great at zoning away, in particular against these Archon. And then also all of those Immortals. I gotta say, I really love the Ghost Edition here. Ghosts are kind of ridiculous when you think about it, right? If your army is primarily Spellcasters and Archons, the amount of damage that they can provide is ridiculous. And once again, right, is there another nuke available? I gotta say, the nukes are so cool too, right? They're not even being used to really deal damage. It's mostly just to zone away where that Protoss is going. Now, apparently, another Nexus will end up falling. There's another Nexus over here as well. This is a critical one because there's no more mining really happening here for our Protoss player in red. And that means that this army is going to be absolutely critical. Beautiful EMP once more, though. The Ghosts are not done just yet. There are apparently now... There is a little bit of vision. Yeah, there's a single observer available here. There it is. It's going to confirm exactly where it's located. But once again, the EMPs. Oh my god, that was so cool. The EMPs just simply getting rid of that observer. And all of a sudden, right, even though these Ghosts will eventually run out, that hurts a lot. That apparently not to snipe in the main base on the robotics facility. It means that there's no more detection available here for the Protoss player. And what the Ghosts now have run out of energy. They're going to accumulate more of it. They're gonna accumulate more of it. Another Nexus ends up dying. That means that Protoss will be revealed here in just a little bit, but there are still a lot of scary Protoss units available. Apparently, a single observer was just barely chrono boosted out without me noticing it, but the EMPs are insane, and MaSa ends up obtaining the victory in what is most definitely a very interesting game of Protoss versus Terran. I mean, what does this mean about the meta, right? None of the decisions here that either of these players made were considered to be standard, right? And whatever that means in like the previous patch, right? Like obviously right after BlizzCon back in November, a massive multiplayer patch was deployed to StarCraft 2. Players have been trying to find their way over the last few months, but there's no denying that the meta is by no stretch of the imagination settled just yet. As both players just went for interesting builds here, they played very differently than you would ordinarily expect, and now the heavy focus on Ghosts in the mid-game of Protoss versus Terran? Very interesting. I wonder though, what would happen if, say, like, Protoss would start adding on Colossus instead, right? I mean, I don't know exactly how familiar DNS is with exactly this Ghost-based play. Very cool play though by MaSa, I gotta hand it to him. Beautiful game, awesome scenarios to see play out as well. I mean, we essentially had like a double base trade, right? That's not something you see very often. Incredible play. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile or write. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. But I'll see you all in the next one.